a minute or give a minute or so to let everybody kind of come in and get settled. You're here for the Actions in Design Space Cricut class. This is a deep dive class into the actions panel on the layers, actually action icons on the layers panel. So we'll have a really good overview of Cricut. This class is being recorded and you'll receive a, well, Michaels will put up a version, the recorded version on their YouTube channel. This also has closed captions. So if you'd like to just turn that off, you can go to the bottom of your screen and turn off the transcript so you don't see that. We will be using the Q&A for the webinar. So if you have any question, go ahead and drop it in the Q&A. I have fabulous Cricut crew on the backside. We have Lindsay, Joy, and Jenny, who are know a ton about Cricut and can answer any of your questions as I walk us through. If there are questions that are relevant to the whole class, they will give me a shout out and let me know. So they are my eyes and ears on how you all are doing in this class. So again, welcome in to Actions in Design Space. And I hope you guys are I'm in Virginia. So it is afternoon for me and we're having a great day here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. The way the class will progress, we'll do some slides which allow me to give you an overview of Design Space and sort of go slowly through what Design Space is. So this is a great opportunity to sort of sit back, watch how it works, take some notes, and observe. And then we'll go into Design Space Live, where if you have a Design Space open, you can work along with me. And then we'll go send it to my Cricut machine, and I have an overhead camera, so you'll get to watch as I put our project together. And if you're crafting along with me today, you'll be able to do that along with me. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started there. Okay, it always takes me a minute to just jump in there. Okay, here we go. So Actions in Design Space. No matter which machine you're using, a Maker, an Explorer, or the Cricut Joy, they all work with Design Space. And getting to know Design Space is a really good tool to help you with your creativity. Now, Design Space you can use on a phone, a desktop or a laptop, or on a tablet device. Most people do use a desktop or a laptop, but I know some of you are joining us on a laptop today. So on the laptop version, it's a bit different than the desktop version, and I'll be using the desktop version today. So I'll try and point out the differences as we go along and help you find the different icons on your tablet device. Just a few things to keep in mind. If you are on a tablet, your design panel is down here on the left. All of your layers panel and your action icons are in the middle. And if you need to toggle between your home and your canvas, you do that right up here on the top. So in a desktop version, your layers panel is out when you open up your canvas. So you don't have to find that layers icon in the bottom like you do a tablet device. Your layers panel always stays open. What you can do in the layers panel is really see what you're creating by every single layer as you add it to your canvas. So when you add a layer to your canvas, it comes in with some quick action icons around that image, and it'll start stacking up in the layers panel. So on your right, as you bring in more and more layers, those layers will stack up here. At the top of your layers panel, you'll notice there are a few things that are what I call ghosted out or grayed out. So for example, group and ungroup is grayed out. So right now with just a single layer, you can't use those icons. As we add more layers, those icons will come to life and you kind of wake them up and they'll turn to a darker shade, which indicates you can start using them. So now that I have 3 layers on my canvas, I can choose to group these layers together. When you group layers together, you're basically just putting them all in the same folder. So they'll all move together on the canvas. You can resize them together, but they're still individual layers. And when you send your project to your maker or your explorer, it doesn't change anything on your project. Now you'll notice as you bring in your layers, they stack one on top of the other. So we started off with a square and then added a circle and added a triangle. I always think about this, how they stack in like a 7-layer dip. So your square is your refried beans, then your circles might be your guac with your triangle as your cheese. So as you add on layers, they stack one on top of the other. And that top layer is the most active layer that you're working on. Now you do notice in the layers panel, you have these little eyeballs. When you click on the eyeball and cross it out, it hides that image on your canvas. It's still there. You can go back and jump on it later and bring it back onto your canvas. It's just hiding and it won't send to your machine. So when you send your project to cut, that hidden layer won't show up. If you are on a tablet device, you just select the layer and down in the bottom middle, you click on the eye and it hides that layer. Now, again, you'll notice that up here you have a couple more options that are active: group, duplicate, and delete. So these are another way to duplicate a layer or to delete a layer. At the bottom of your layers panel on your desktop or laptop are your action icons. And what action icons are, they interact with the layers you've selected to change that layer in one way or another. So those action icons are slice and weld, attach, flatten, and contour. And this is really what we're going to focus on today, what each of these icons does to your canvas. Specifically, we'll focus a lot on slice, weld, and attach, and we'll touch on flatten and contour. So what is slice? Slice allows you to cut one shape from another shape or deletes part of an image. So when you have two layers that are overlapping, you'll notice that where they overlap, you still have these cut lines. So when you select slice, it basically cuts this circle cut line out of your square shape behind it. And what that looks like is this. So where there were cut lines in the overlap of these two shapes, the circle going into the square and the square going into the circle, when you select slice, it breaks that shape apart and adds that cut line into the other shape. So now you have a wedge cut out of your square and you have a slice of pie, if you will, cut out of your circle. So what was originally one single shape as your circle, it's now two different shapes. And then you can keep what shapes you want or remove shapes as you go along. The other way to use the slice is like a cookie cutter. So this yellow rectangle or square is like the dough. You've rolled it out, it's on your counter, and now you want to cut shapes out of that color. To do that, you just overlap those two shapes, select both layers, and then slice. And when you do that, it slices that shape out of the original bottom layer. So it actually adds a third layer to your canvas. So you start off with, here on the left, you start with the yellow square and the green star. With the two shapes overlapping, once you've selected slice, now you have the green star, the cutout of the yellow, and then the background with the peekaboo star shape right there. And again, you can eliminate the shapes that you don't need. Now, weld kind of does the opposite of slice, where slice takes two layers and pulls it apart. Weld takes two or more layers and brings them together. So when you weld a shape together, you effectively remove these cut lines in the overlapping shapes. So it completely will remove this line and make each individual layer into a single layer. So this example on my slide here, I have this really big heart in the middle, and it's overlapping this light pink heart and this red heart. Now, if I just left it this way, it would slice these shapes into the design. But by welding it, we take those three shapes and convert them into a single layer shape like this. And you effectively remove these cut lines. Now, layers, when you weld, don't have to be overlapping. Sometimes you can have a lot of layers and you know you want to put them together. So you can select weld and it brings all those layers onto a single layer. And that speeds up your cutting time. One thing with weld is once you've saved a project with the weld function in it, you cannot go back and unweld. So when you weld something, make sure that that's what you want to do. Sometimes what I'll do is if I were at this stage here, I would duplicate these three layers and hide them and then weld the original and make sure that that's exactly what I wanted to have happen before removing the other layers. Now, the third action icon that we're going to talk about is attach. So attach holds the shapes together on your canvas, not only for design purposes on your canvas in terms of color and sizing and moving the design around your canvas, but it also holds that position when you send it to your machine to cut, which is super important. So it attaches every single layer, whether it's a shape or an image or even a score line. It holds that position when you send it to your cutter. So I have these three different layers here. I have the word junkie, the word pumpkin, and my coffee cup. And what I'd like to do is put them together to cut out like this, where it says pumpkin, junkie, and a coffee cup. Now, you can see I don't have them attached. They're right now three separate layers. When I send it like this to my cutter, what happens is the software says, let's really be effective with the use of the material the user's using, and we'll position and lay out the images in a pattern that goes across the mat and then down. But you didn't want this to happen because now you'd have to go back and reposition your words inside your mug after you've cut. So what you need to do is select those layers and attach them together. So think of that like using a paper clip, which is, I think, yeah, that is what the icon is. So think of it like taking all those layers, clipping them together and saying, this is how I want this to trim and cut out on my mat. When you do that and then you send it back to your prepare screen, now everything is in the same position as you had it on your canvas. So those, the group and weld and attach, I know I even still to this day will send a design to be cut and it changes my position and I go, oops, I forgot to attach. So let me go back and attach my design. So just to review, the three different ways of putting shapes together and layers together is to group your layers. So when you group, you can basically move and resize those layers on your canvas. Group only affects what you're doing on your canvas. When you want to cut your layers out in the position that you've placed them on your canvas, then you want to use attach. And attach basically holds the shape of all your images and all your layers. So when you send it to the cutting machine, it will cut it as one piece. Now your shapes are still separate, so you can go back and detach them and move them around and change the color later. But what attach does is it freezes that position on your canvas for you. And then Weld is the final tool that sort of holds images together. And with Weld, you can only, it permanently merges those individual layers together into a single layer. So when you use Weld, you really want to make sure that, yes, I definitely want these pieces to go together here. I use a Weld a lot when I'm making my own designs and I'm trying to use shapes to create a new design, or when I want to really hold something, a design together, and I'm committed that, yep, that's how I want it to be, and then I weld it. Now, the other two icons we're going to touch on is the contour and the flatten. So contour hides or unhides individual lines and shapes. When you look at a shape like this cactus in the planter, each of the shapes inside are actually cut lines. So when you look at a shape like these rainbows on their sides, these crescent shapes here, instead of thinking of it just as a crescent shape, you have to think about each of the lines that creates that crescent shape. So each one of these individual lines creates a single shape. Now, when you go into contour, it takes you into another screen like this, where you really get to see how each cut line creates a shape. So on the right-hand side here, all these shapes, these little itty bitty shapes, these all represent shapes within your design. And you can click either on the design to hide that shape, or you can click in the panel on the right to hide that shape. And the reason you'd want to hide that shape is sort of to erase it or remove that cut line. So on this one, for example, if we wanted to make the planter a solid color and not have these cuts in the planter, you could remove each of these shapes inside the planter and end up with a solid base like this one. So when you think about contour, think of contour like an erase tool. It doesn't erase lines outside of your design, but it certainly is helpful for erasing and hiding shapes or cut lines within the design. And this is another way to use the contour feature. Another way to think about it is sometimes if you're using a design from Cricut Access, they come in as one design, or sometimes they come in as layers. This Darling You're Beautiful is a pre-designed image, so it comes in as one solid design. But let's say you just want to use the word darling and not You're Beautiful. So we can erase You're Beautiful by using contour. And so when you go into contour, you would click on each letter so you don't cut out the letters. And then you also would click on the shapes inside the letter, so those are not cut. And then your design would look like this. And you removed that Hello Beautiful out of your design. It's still there, but it's just hiding. So when you send it to your machine, it actually won't cut that design. Then the last icon down there in your layers panel is called Flatten. And Flatten is something you use when you're sending a design to your printer. So when you send your design to your printer, you sort of have to change the language of the element that you're sending. So right now, these are all going over as what we call an SVG, .svg. That's the type of file this is. When you flatten an image, it combines all those different layers into a single layer that can then be communicated to your printer to actually print out that layer. So this example here, this body positive babe, she has 5 different layers on the side here in the layers panel. You could hide those layers, you could change the colors of those layers, all that type of, all your type of editing features on there. But when you're ready to send it to your printer, you need to flatten those layers into a single layer. So when you highlight the layers and you select flatten, it then merges them all into a single layer. So now each of these is a single layer that will then go to your printer. Now, once you've sent it to your printer, you can come back and actually cut around that image. And when it comes out of your printer, it will have this box around it. Now, what the box does is your cutter will find these lines and read these black lines to get their registration marks. So it knows where to place the cut lines around your image. So that's how that flatten image is used, or that flatten icon. Now, there's another bit to your layers panel. And actually, before I go on, Joy or Lindsay, are there any questions on that? That was a lot of information.
It's a lot of information, but I think you're doing great. We don't have any questions in the panel.
Awesome. Okay. So let's keep moving on. So when you look in your layers panel here, you'll notice that there will be an indication of what tool to use in your machine. So the basic cut tells me I need to use my fine point blade. It's a basic cut. That's how this design is going to come across. But you can change what you do with that design based on which machine you're using. So in your header bar here, you would select if you're working with an Explorer, a Maker, or a Joy. So for this example here, I have an Explorer selected, and you can see over here, I have some different choices in my drop-down menu in the operations panel. Now, if I'm just doing the basic cut, that's how this is set up. But if you want to draw this design and use the foil tip, you would then select foil and select your pen your tip for the foil tool. And that would allow you to go around the edge and change it from a basic cut to a foil design. Now, if you're using a Maker, you can change your basic cut to do a variety of different cuts, like a wavy cut or a perforation cut. You can also change it to be a debossed design or a scoring tool design, or if you're engraving on that design. So your operation type, whatever type you choose, will change the wording in your layers panel. So you can always take a quick glance and make sure, okay, is this supposed to be a draw design or is this a cut design? And you would see that in your layers panel there. Now, also in the operations panel, you can change the color of your layer using that little drop down box there. You can select your color and even select an advanced color. I use this mostly because I like to get a visual of how something's going to look when I'm finished with it. The color of your project is really determined by the color of vinyl or cardstock or what color material you're using. So even if I have this turned to purple, I may be just cutting it, excuse me, with pink. So I just would change it for the visual to see what it would look like. Now, when you're working with text, you also will work in your layers panel. In your design panel, you click on the text icon to add text to your canvas. And as you're typing out your text, the text will start to show on your canvas here like that. Now you'll notice that you've got an additional edit bar here underneath your main edit bar that's specific for your fonts. And on that edit bar, you can select what type of font you'll be using. So this is a font called Three Birds Life's a Party. And this font has a lot of different styles. Not every font will have multiple styles. Some fonts only have one style, some have two. It just varies by font. But when you look at the different styles of font that are available, you can see here, each one looks a little bit different. So I really love to point this font out because in the regular font, it has an outline of the font. So when you type in the word, you actually get two layers to that text. And if you notice on this last one, this one is the writing font, and you'll notice in the layers panel, it will actually draw that font out using a pen. So you can search for the font you're looking for. There's two different types of fonts. One is called a system font, and those are the fonts that are preloaded onto your device. So like if you're using Windows 10 laptop, you'll notice you have a whole bunch of your own fonts that are available to work with. And then you have the Cricut fonts, which are available to work with, and those are exclusive to Cricut. Now, you'll notice if you're on a desktop or a laptop, you also have the option of selecting only kerned fonts. Kerning refers to the space between letters on a font choice. So when you're looking for a font that is kerned, you're looking for a script font that is like the letters will overlap and make it look like a continuous handwriting with a script. So like this font here is a kerned font. It's called Cloud 9. And you'll notice that the letters here, they overlap right on top of each other, so that A and the I are touching and the I and the S are touching. So it's designed to make it look like one fluid set of letters. Now, if I sent this to my cutter like this, it would cut apart and each letter would be an individual letter. So I go back to what we talked about earlier. How do I merge those layers together and remove this cut line here? I use Weld, and that will remove the cut line there. So it takes that away. Now my D and my Y will still cut as, with that space in between. But the A, I, and S are all together and cut as one letter. Nope. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, great. So that is your overview of Design Space and how to work within Design Space. Now, if you're ready, we're ready to jump right into Design Space and we'll get started on a new project. So I'll share my screen again and I will share. Guess what? I don't have Design Space open. Let me open up Design Space real quick. I've been crafting this morning. You might have noticed some of my new designs in the background there. We're getting ready for an afternoon class on frightfully spooky decor. So we'll be filling in some of the holes there as we go. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen here. There we go. Okay, so if you're working along with me, go ahead and open up your Design Space and let's start with a new project. So just go ahead and click on New Project there, and we'll start from that. We'll give everybody a chance to sort of catch up. Now, I'll be working on a journal. And so I know my design, I want it to be about 4.5 inches wide. That's about the widest I want to go. So whatever size you want to do, whatever blank you're working on, kind of keep that in mind. Now, if you want to see what we're going to be making, let me take us to the project. I always have a hard time directing you to how to find the project. We can drop the link in the chat. I'm going to go, let me show you a really easy way to find somebody, and then you can find my project. So if you go to your home screen like this, and as you scroll down, you want to look for the community. And if you have not explored the community projects yet, guys, you have to. It's such a great, I get so much inspiration when I get kind of caught up in looking at things. But as you scroll down in the projects, you'll notice there's one called From the Community. And if you go across, you can search for community members. So go ahead and type in Kesley, Kesley Anderson. And what this will do is it will show my profile, and you click on it. And then you can find my project, which it's not in here. Hold on, keep there. Let me share that project, make sure that project is shared. So I'll edit the project. edit those details. And it says anyone with the link, let me share that with everyone. And then if you pull up my profile, you can grab this project. So I'll give you a second to do that. Let me walk you through that again. Go to the home screen, just scroll down to get the community projects. And then you can search for a community member and you type in Kesley, Kesley Anderson. And there's my profile picture. I don't think I'll ever be able to change that profile picture. and then there's the project should show up for you. So if you want to click on that, and we will do the customize. So that way you can have a version of this project. And what we're going to do for the rest of the class is actually build this out starting from scratch. So I'm going to grab that and just tuck it over here so we have that to work with. Okay. Now it's quite big, but we're going to make it a little bit smaller. So to get started, the first thing we're going to do is let's grab some of these designs. This Oh Hello is it's a free image and the pumpkin is a free image. So in your design panel, you want to click on images. And if you're on a tablet, that's in the bottom left corner. Then you want to click on all images and check out free this week. Did I do that too quickly? Sometimes I think I know where things are. Let me go back and I'll do that one more time. So we click on the icon images, which takes us to all of the images that are available, but we want to look in the free images. So you click on the category all images and then the highlighted category free this week. And then we'll just do a search for the word pumpkin. And you can select a pumpkin that you'd like to work with. I'm going to use this pumpkin here. It's a pretty basic pumpkin. And if anybody's having trouble finding that pumpkin, you can type in the what do you call this? the ID number. And when you do something like that, please don't forget to put that hashtag on there. That is our call out, so we know how to find that design. And then once you've got the pumpkin and the pumpkins in your queue down here, we're going to add the Oh Hello into your queue as well. So you can click out of the word search pumpkin, and we're going to type in the keyword search box Oh Hello, and that should pop up for us. There it is right here. So we'll grab that keyword there and put that in the chat for you. So there you go. Then we're going to add that one into our queue as well. So now I have both of those images in my bottom queue, and I'm going to add those to my canvas. And look at what a difference in size. Now you see they come in together. And as I move them around my canvas, they're stuck together. So to change that, I just click anywhere on my canvas, and now I don't have any layer selected. So I can come to my pumpkin layer and I can move the pumpkin around and I can move the Oh Hello around. So we're going to be coming back to these designs. So we'll want to hold a spot for those two designs. Now let's work on the first part of our design. Let's make our frame a rectangle frame. So we want to go to the shapes icon here, grab a square and add that to your canvas. And we're going to unlock the proportion. And you can either do that as a quick edit on the icon here, the lock, you can click on that. And we can change in the edit bar up here our width and our height. So like I said, 4.5 inches about the size, the width that I'd like my design to be, and maybe 4 inches tall. Let's see. No, I think I like it a little bit shorter than that. So 3.5, a little more rectangle, I guess you'd say. Okay. Now, once I have my first rectangle on there, I'm going to add a second rectangle and create a frame. So I'm going to duplicate my first rectangle. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Today, for our purposes, let's go to the Layers panel and click on the duplicate icon there at the top. So you want to make sure that you have that rectangle selected, and then you go duplicate, and you should have two separate rectangles now on your canvas. And this first rectangle is the top layer. So that's our duplicate rectangle you'll see is in the top layer of your Layers panel. Let's make this one a little bit smaller by 1/4 of an inch all around. So we'll change the width to 4.25, and that will change the height to 3.306. Now, when I bring that on top of my other rectangle, you can see I've created a frame. It's a little hard to get it exactly in the center, so we're going to use an edit tool to do that. So go ahead and select both of your rectangle layers. You can either do that in the Layers panel, or click anywhere on your canvas and drag your mouse across to select both layers. Once you've done that, we're going to go up to the Align icon on the Edit panel. Now, if your Align icon is ghosted out or that grayed out and it's not the darker color, that means that you only have one shape selected. You have to have two shapes selected for that Align icon to be able to come into action. So you can see I have my top layer selected and my Align is not active. So let's wake that up and make sure we have both layers selected. And we're going to align, and we'll align the center of the shapes. So once those are aligned, we're going to go ahead and select both again, and down in your actions, we're going to select the slice icon. So if you're on a desktop, don't forget to pull up the actions icon tab in the middle, and that's where all your action icons can be found there. So once you have done that slice, you'll notice you got an extra layer in your Layers panel. So you have the top layer, which was your second rectangle, the smaller rectangle. And then you have your bottom rectangle, which is the inside of your original rectangle. And so now what we want to work with is just the frame. So we can delete these other two layers. Now you can either drag across and select both and click delete on your keyboard, or you can go up to your actions panel and select the delete icon there and delete that out of the way. So now we have a frame to build into our shapes. Let's grab the Oh Hello. Now, if you wanted to, you could eliminate this O and erase it off of the design by either going over to your Layers panel and just hiding that O. So it's still there. I can bring it back, but I can also hide it and remove that O that way. So that's one way. Now, I had mentioned in our slides what to do if this was not separate layers. So let me make this one layer. You don't have to do this part. I'm just showing you this as a reinforcement of what we talked about before. So now my Oh Hello is a single layer, and I can't just click on that O and make that go away. So if I wanted to erase the O and the comma, I would go into Contour, and I would select, for this one, it's real easy. I would hide all contours except for what's inside the word hello. And I'd want to make sure those are all showing. Okay, so let's make sure that worked. So now there's my word hello. And we just want to slide that and reduce the size so it will fit into our rectangle. Now, our rectangle is 4.5 inches wide, so a really easy way to do this is to take this hello layer and now change the width to 4.5 inches. And now that will tuck right inside of my other rectangle like that. Now I'm going to zoom in on my canvas so you guys can see this and change my colors. You do not have to do this part. This is just so you can see it easier on my screen. Let's grab these two over here. Okay, so now you can see again, I've got these two layers, one on top of the other. I can select both layers and go to align and align the centers vertically. And that brings the hello into the middle of my shape, or I can align it horizontally and that lines it up so there's not any overhang here. I use that align tool all the time because it just makes it so much easier. I'm not super good at eyeballing things, so I very much appreciate that I can use those tools to align it. So even here, I'm off again. And so what I'll do is just grab both of those and I will do that align horizontally. And honestly, like the more you play with that, the easier that little function gets for you. Now we're going to bring, okay, so if you want to, you can change your color. So we can select both of these. They're not grouped or anything, but we can go in and change the color for both of them. So let's give that a nice orange color. Now you'll see here, you've got your cut lines. So your hello would cut into your frame. And we really want this to be one piece so that it doesn't cut these pieces out. We want it to cut as one whole piece. So select those two layers. We're going to make these two layers into one. And the reason what I'm going to do here is weld. The reason I'm welding is I don't want to just attach it because then it would cut these cut lines in my frame. So when I weld, it removes those cut lines on my frame. So now this is all one piece and it's welded together. We can now move our pumpkin over, and because our pumpkin is behind our hello, it can get tricky. When you click on your pumpkin, you may accidentally, just like that, grab the frame. So when I click on my pumpkin inside the frame, it keeps grabbing that frame. So what you can do is take your frame on your layers panel, left click on it and drag it below that pumpkin. And now when you click, your pumpkin is the top image. And just size your pumpkin down so it'll fit into your shape. If you want to, you can go crooked, or you can just leave it, plain. And then you can go ahead and touch your frame again. So you've got like that little bit touching your frame, and we will weld this together as well. And it will change the color. So now I have my hello and my pumpkin are all worked in there. And the last little bit we want to do is add the text. So we're going to go ahead and select text and type in the word pumpkin, Pumpkin, not pumpkin. There we go. And so this little guy just needs to fit into that space, that open space. So you can adjust the size of it using the quick edit icon here. And we'll put that there. Now, if you wanted to, you could give yourself a little bit more, make this letters a little bit taller. So you unlock your proportions there, and then you can drag out your design a little bit bigger like that and say, hello, pumpkin. Or if you wanted to, you could come up to the fonts and select a different font. So if you wanted to have something cursive, maybe you would select a font like Radiotopia. And this font is free to use right now. So you could change it to Radiotopia. And then if I changed it from capital letters to lowercase letters, I get a nice little cursive look there. Let's do the pumpkin, lowercase like that. So now you can see, I'm going to make this really big so you can see this font is kerned. It's called a kerning font, and the letters are touching each other. So again, if I send it to my machine, it would cut all these letters together, I mean, individually, but really I want it to cut as one letter. So I would weld that together and remove those cut lines. And then I would just resize that to fit into here. Hello, pumpkin. Is anybody else ready for fall? I'm so ready. All right, and then we'll just change, let's do 2 colors of vinyl. So we get some practice with layering, and we can make this a fun little yellow pumpkin color like that. All right, so now let me show you real quick, because if you were on a tablet device, you wouldn't have that option of kerning. So you would need to use a different device, a different font that would, you need to just modify your fonts a little bit. So let me, I'd like to show you how to do that. So I'll turn off the kern fonts and I'll look for a font called Quirky, just to show you guys. So Quirky is not a kern font. So you can see where each letter comes in, not touching, not brought together. So you have to manually do that. And the way you do that is you go to the edit bar and you change your letter spacing. So you just reduce that space between the letters. And actually, let me change that color so you can see that a little bit better. Can't change it while I'm moving. Let's change that color. This way you can see those, you'll be able to see when the letters start to touch each other and really close that gap. So we're just going to keep reducing that letter spacing until those letters are touching each other and they're overlapping. So now you've just manually done the kerning, and then you would select Weld and it would remove those cut lines onto your font. So if you're on a tablet, you don't have that kerning option. It's just not a feature there yet, but that's a workaround to get that design to work that way. So I'm going to hide that one. And now if you guys are all with me, we're ready to make it. So I'm going to click on the make it icon, and it will send, since I've put all these as a weld. So this will, I don't have to worry about attach or anything like that. The pumpkin will come out and I'll cut that out of a yellow vinyl. So let's go ahead and send that to make it. It'll take you to your prepare screen, where I still have some things showing, I guess. Let me just see what I have a couple different layers. So this was, oh, I know, sorry. I had my original one is still showing. Let me hide that guy. Okay, sorry about that. So here's the design we've done together. And it has the hello with the pumpkin and then the word pumpkin. So my hello will be on orange and my yellow will cut out on yellow vinyl. Now, if you're cutting it using the same vinyl, just in different colors, you can actually move this design so that it cuts on the same mat. And to do that, you just click on these 3 little dots in the upper left corner there, and you say move object, and you select which mat you want to move it to. Now it will change the color. So it thinks I'm asking it to cut this out of orange as well as this design, but really I'm going to cut this out of yellow, and the hello with the pumpkin frame will cut that out of orange, and the word pumpkin will cut that out of yellow. And again, it's just placing the vinyl on your cutting mat in those positions. So when I do move my vinyl around, I generally keep it on the right side, the second piece here to the right of the halfway mark. So I'll put that right in there. And so I know, put the yellow on the left and the orange, yellow on the right, orange on the left. Then I go to my make screen. And by now you guys are probably pros at running through this part of it. So you can just browse all materials and find the material you'll be working with. I'll be using a vinyl, a permanent glossy premium vinyl here, which I have indicated as one of my favorites. I do use this a lot. All right, and then it tells me to load my fine point blade and my mat and then press OK. So now we will go ahead and go over to my overhead, and I'll show you guys how we move it over. So here we go. All right. So I have a finished version here, which is already done. I have on my workspace my orange and my yellow vinyl that these are little scrap pieces, and I love being able to, I don't know about you guys, but I keep all of my pieces of vinyl to use for other projects. So I will trim this one down. It was like a 4.5 by something. I can't remember exactly what the measurement was, but I'm going to go ahead and trim this down to a 6-inch square here, a little bit inside that 6-inch, because I know that this guy is going to come in next to it and be on the right side, while my orange is going to be on the left side. So I always keep my mats covered with my plastic, and I'll show you guys a trick on how I keep my mats fresh and clean and working all the time for me. So like I said, I'm going to put my orange on the left side. Since I am using the same type of vinyl, I can use the same settings and cut this out. Now, if I were using, say, a shimmer vinyl or something on one of them and a glossy vinyl on the other one, I would not put them on the same mat to cut. I would run it through twice. But since they have the same settings, I can use it on the same piece. If I were using smart vinyl, I'd run my orange through and then my yellow through. Or I'd find a little scrap and put that on my board here. Okay.
Kesley,
Yeah.
as this is cutting, will you make a mental note to save this version to your profile as well? Some folks like the version without the O in it.
Yes. Good suggestion. Yes, I will do that. And sometimes what I do, just a little tip, when I'm cutting things out of a bigger piece of vinyl, in my design space, I would add a square around the word pumpkin so that it would be easier to weed that way. Now, if you're using a mug or tumbler or something like that, go ahead and make sure you've cleaned it off and it's ready. It's a nice clean surface you're working with. This is always a good time to do that while you're cutting out. It's always so quiet when we're cutting.
Kesley, we have a question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that you answered. It takes us back to text and the app on Cricut Joy. Do you know how to fill text using the app on Cricut Joy?
I'm sorry, do I have a what text?
Do you know how to fill, meaning, I think they mean change the color in text using the app for Cricut Joy?
I think it's the same way as you would change the color on a shape. And I think that would be in your edit bar. So you'd probably go to your editing tools and you'd find your square of color there to change it, and your drop down menu would come out. It's a good question. Now
it's a really good one, and I have my app out. I'm going to try and check it. Okay. So Gretchen, we will stay tuned. We will try to answer your question.
That's a really good question. Okay, so now when you're done with your mat and you're done cutting, I have a pack of baby wipes, and I am beyond my baby years. But I just have a pack of, like, they're non-alcoholic, they're lint-free little wipes, and you just run it over your mat. And this removes any little debris that might have gotten cut up. If you've been doing a lot of different projects or anything like that, you just want to keep your mat clean, free of dust and debris. So I just run that over there, and you'll notice you're thinking, oh my gosh, she's ruined her mat. It's not sticky. We're going to give it a minute. I'm going to set it up here, my little tablet holder, hopefully it won't fall. And I'm going to let that dry. So before the end of the class, remind me, and I will show you how the stick has come back. You can also, on the Cricut website, it does give you instructions on how to actually wash with Dawn and wash your design if you ever, and wash your mat if it ever gets really, really bad. Like you've left it out and the cats have walked over it or something like that. Okay, so now I removed those extra pieces of vinyl and I tuck my extra vinyl underneath my self-healing mat here. So I have, if I need a quick color, I can just peek under there and see what I have and grab a little layer. I'm using my weeding tool and I'm going to pull off and weed out my design here. I can use my weeding tool along the edge of my vinyl to make sure that I don't pull out the wrong piece. And especially when I'm working with such a tiny type of letters, I do like to use my scoring tool to make, my weeding tool to make sure that I keep my letters in the right spot. I don't pull those out. Huh. All right, so here we go. Did you find that out, Joy, where they change the color?
Yes, I just figured it out. It might be easier for me to tell, so in case other people want to know.
Yeah.
So in the app, I did it under vinyl, but it works under iron-on too. You would type in whatever it is that you want to type. So I typed in Jane and hit the check mark. And then down at the bottom of the application, there's a symbol that kind of shows an art board down at the bottom right. And if you click on that, then it brings you up all of your colors. And then you could change the color to whatever you'd like it to be. So you could change it to blue, or I don't think you can see it all on my phone right there, but that gives you the idea. And then you would hit check. And then I have it, you can't see it on there, but it is blue and it does say Jane. So I hope that helps, Gretchen.
You know, it's interesting, like how between the different applications, they're just minor differences. And you're like, I know this is there. I just don't know where it is. All right. And here we go. Sorry, guys. My weeding skills are not that good. My room is a little dark where I do these classes. So my eyes, I need to start wearing my reading glasses. But here we go. He's coming across. Also, a lot of times I'll take my weeding up to my window or use my bright pad and I'll weed on that, which is great. All right, so there we go. There's our little word pumpkin. And then I'm going to pull out my inside pieces here. Pop those guys out. Okay, and once I get all my inside pieces pulled out, we'll be able to do the big frame, which will be much easier to weed.
And Kesley, just for timing wise, we're about a minute to the end of class. So anybody who can stay, we'd love to have you stay. And remember, this is recorded and you can find it on the Michaels site, michaels.com/classes, or you can find it on Michaels YouTube. But if you can hang in, Kesley will show you some really cool tricks for how to apply the vinyl.
How we do our layering. All right, so here we go. We're just going to grab my frame inside. I don't know about you guys, but I usually watch TV when I craft, so I'm not used to so much quiet.
I know, imagine for you, it's pretty quiet over there.
It is. It's just
And
me.
Yeah, just you and the thing. Okay, here we go. So while you're weeding, Kesley, why don't we ask this question? From Firewife 90. I'd like to know how to fill in fonts that are white in the middle so they show up as all black. For instance, if you're using Academy engraved, can you fill it in? All right, I think Lindsay's gonna go check that. Do you have it up, Lindsay?
Mm.
All right, I think she's checking it out.
All
And
right.
then Peggy's asking, I'd like to use vinyl to make window clings. Have you ever done this?
Ooh, yes, I have, and I would definitely use removable vinyl. There's some really cute ideas right now. I was just getting some ideas for Halloween and using like black removable vinyl and making putting cob spider webs in your windows would be super cute. And you just would do removable vinyl, and I would do it so that the right side of the vinyl, I wouldn't mirror it. I'd put it right on the outside of the window. Now, if you're doing it on a car, then you might want to use your permanent vinyl. I mean, yeah, if you're doing it on the outside window of a car, you would use permanent vinyl. And Joy, I have mangled this guy, so we're going to go with this. Sorry. My weeding is not up to par today, so I've kind of mangled this design. I don't have another one handy like I usually do to change it. So I'm going to go ahead though and show you all how to put this on your book and layer your vinyl that way. I'm really sorry, I kind of got caught up there. So what I like to do is I use a hinge method when I put my transfer tape down. So what I'll do is I'll line up, all the transfer tape has a gray grid. If you're using regular transfer tape, it has a grid on it. So I use my self-healing mat here and I'll line up my gray line with a line of my mat. And what I do then is line up my design onto my mat, following that line, and then laying my transfer tape across my design. And then that allows me to get a straight line on my design. So it will go down nice and flat and even. And then I just turn it over like this, and we just pull it out like this. And then we'll add the pumpkin onto the design, sort of using the similar technique. I'll line up my transfer tape along the line here, following that gray grid line, and then line this up using the lines of the transfer tape so that it goes down straight again, like that.
Kesley, you have some support. Becky said, thank you for having difficulty because it makes me feel less like a klutz when things don't work perfectly.
It happens, you know, and sometimes, like normally I would just recut this and reweed it. But for you guys, I want you to see how to line that up, and I can go back and fix that later. So I'm glad that helps you know that you're not alone. Now, then you can use your lines on your transfer tape to line up your design on your book. And you just put it down like that, and you use your little wedge and you wedge it down, and then you pull it back. Now, I will tell you, I use permanent vinyl. And if I leave it here for like 24 hours, it's very difficult to get up. But if I just put, like, if you put it down like that and you're like, oh no, I missed something or I messed that up, you can pick it up and redo it. So I will be able to fix this one, and we'll change that one out. But that's how you layer your vinyl on your design using your transfer tape. And thank you for those of you who are able to stick with us. Oh, real quick, my mat, my stick is back.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kesley, and thank you everyone for hanging out with us today and learning more about Design Space. I hope that Kesley taught you all kinds of great tips and tricks, and you will feel even more comfortable about Design Space and making some cool things for the holidays.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.